SOCAL foul. For those of you that are not wrestling nerds and have no idea who this person is, well, she is a former TNA manager. She was in TNA for a cup of coffee, or maybe a couple of cups of coffee, because she was in there for a decent amount of time. Look, it doesn't really matter whether she was drinking coffee, tea, or Red Bull. What does matter is what she came out and said in a recent interview about the negative stigma around WWE divas and why she believes that is anti-feministic. And I've got to say here, I actually agree with SoCal Foul. Can't believe I'm saying this, because when I look at her, she comes across as the biggest feminist I've ever seen, which I do not agree with. She comes across as a fucking Karen, which I can't stand. She just comes across, and I don't even know the person, but she comes across as an unlikable cunt. I mean, that's me putting it mildly, but I listened to this interview and she comes off with some very good points, and I think what she said is spot on pretty much. So she was having an interview about divas and why it's considered negative to be a diva. And what she said was, I mean, it is pretty lengthy, so I will try and run through it as quick as possible. But she said, and I quote, "Yes, and I have no idea why anyone ever thought it was a negative term. I would never be in wrestling if it wasn't for the WWE divas. With all due respect, I would never have been in wrestling if it was just serious wrestlers. Those aren't my type of girls. I wanted to be a Tori Wilson. I wanted to be a Sunny. I wanted to do the modelling shoots. I wanted to do the interviews and manage the matches. The fact that we can't look at that period of time and see some great people in that, even the Diva search, for example, people forget how many great talents came from that. Maria Kanellis, Michelle McCool, Layla L, etc. Now I get it can get a little out of hand with gravy matches and jelly pools, sure. But when I wanted to wrestle, I want it to be an evening gown or a lingerie match where I can exude my sexuality. I thought it was really empowering. So it's a shame for me to hear that people hate it when they call them divas. Personally, I thought the butterfly divas belt looked stupid, but the term diva was very empowering, so I find it very interesting that people have such photonic response to that word. That was my era. Trish Stratus, for example, when she was a manager for Test and Albert, that's when I really connected with her. When she became a serious wrestler, and I mean this with all due respect, I couldn't relate as much. Even with Lita, I couldn't relate as much. I didn't want to be taken seriously as a female wrestler. I think it's great that we have that, but it's not what I wanted to do. So the fact that we kind of both now, I feel, is very anti-feministic. In that sense, feminism is about having freedom of choice, and if my choice wasn't to be a serious wrestler, then that's my choice. If my choice is to be sexy and diva type, that's my choice. Feminism is about supporting women's choices, so you can't sit there and say if you weren't a serious wrestler, then you didn't contribute to the business. People like Sunny, Sable, Tori Wilson, Candice Michelle, etc. These women were my idols. If there were no diva era, I would have lost interest immediately. End of quote. So that's what SoCal Foul had to say about the Divas era. Now, for those of you that do not know SoCal Foul, like I said, she was a manager. That was pretty much her only role. She did do some ring announcing. She did like photo shoots and modelling, but she never, as far as I'm aware, competed in any matches. I mean, she might have been in the odd battle royal, but she wasn't even a wrestler. So what she's going by, the people that she's naming all probably had more wrestling experience than she did. But that's not important. I agree with SoCal Foul here. The fact that the divas are looked upon as like a really negative term, and this pisses me off. It really does piss me off. Like the fact that because, let's say Trish Stratus, for example, because she was in the divas era, it's almost like she's viewed as she wasn't as important as the women today, or she's like kind of looked down upon as in a negative term, as in, you know, she's not as respected, or, you know, oh, you were in like bra and panties matches, so like you what you did was like invalid, and that is fucking nonsense, right? I don't recall the times where Trish Stratus would, you know, get with her sister and basically get her tits out on Instagram. Yes, I'm calling you out, Natalia. I don't remember the time where, you know, Trish made a sex video with two jobbers and let them bang her over her women's championship. Yes, I'm looking at you, Paige. the women of today really piss me off because they're so happy to be in shows like Total Divas when they think it benefits them and when they think that they can, gain popularity from it. But in the past, they will ridicule and they will look down upon anything with the name Diva in it. And it's retarded. Yeah, I mean, did Trish do bra and panties matches? Yeah, she did. Did she do evening gown matches? Yeah, she did. Did she, beg in the ring and bark like a dog for Mr. McMahon? Yeah, she did. But you know what? She did that for sports entertainment. It was a character thing. She was playing a fucking character. Just like, a woman could be having a sex scene in a movie. That doesn't make her a slut. Whereas you look at all today's wrestlers and female wrestlers, how many of them have got sex tapes? How many of them have got nudes that are being leaked all over the internet? How many of them, do you literally fucking go on Instagram and, like Natalia all the time, literally, her sister's a whore, her sister literally has OnlyFans, Natalia probably fucking appears on OnlyFans with her. I mean, how many of these wrestling chicks have had OnlyFans, yet they want to portray themselves as serious wrestlers and they want to talk about feminism and all this shit, and it's like Toni Storm, she wouldn't do a segment on WWE where she was in her bra because she said it was degrading or whatever, but she'll happily open up her OnlyFans and take the money for it, and she'll strip down on OnlyFans, but she wouldn't do a segment where, she was going to be in her bra, not voluntarily, she was going to be stripped down to her bra by Charlotte Flair, and so it was Charlotte Flair essentially, trying to embarrass Toni Storm. So it's not like Toni Storm was being a hooker or something like that. It was literally Charlotte that was going to rip her clothes off with the whole point and intent of the scene to embarrass Toni Storm, and she wasn't okay with that, but she will happily go on the internet and take her top off voluntarily for fucking money off guys on the internet. That pisses me off, man. Like Lita and Trish, they were good wrestlers. They were in an era where women were allowed to be hot. They were in an era where women actually appealed to fucking men. The women in this era don't appeal to men. You look at them, most of them are unattractive. Most of them scream like liberal feminist women that just do not fucking look attractive. They've all got multicoloured hair, and that's nothing against people with coloured hair, but I mean, all these people look like freaks. Like they just don't look like hot women, right? There's no Tori Wilsons of today. There's no Stacey Keeblers of today. And just because Tori Wilson, might have done some bikini shoots, just because she done some photo shoots, right, doesn't mean that she was a whore, right? It doesn't mean she was a slut. You look at the women today, and they are way worse. I mean, like I said, Paige, all over Pornhub, and I'm sure there's more. I mean, Natalia's sister, fucking, she's got an OnlyFans. Even on nude accounts, any sort of social she's ever on, you see her with her BAP suit. Yeah, they're supposed to be great women, and Trish and that are supposed to be horrible, embarrassing to the women's division just because they were in an era where they were allowed to use their sexuality to get over. I mean that is embarrassing. It's different. Maybe Sonny is a bit questionable. Sonny is a bit of a hooter, but Trish and Lita, nah. I mean, no, just because Lita fell in love with Edge doesn't make her a whore or a slut or anything like that. So that whole thing does piss me off. So I kind of do agree with SoCal Foul here. I think a lot of women got into the wrestling business because they wanted that diva lifestyle. The whole diva thing represented to me women that were hot and attractive and were proud of that and would show it off. I mean, you had the diva search. It wasn't the next best female technical wrestler search. It was the diva search, and it was mega popular. And I mean, a lot of the people were tuning in for the divas. The divas were a popular thing back in the day. Most people now, when they see the women, it's a piss break. It's a toilet break. We don't care. Most of the women in the company today are terrible. So I just really hate the whole thought process from today's women where it's anyone in the Divas era was degraded, or they were low life women with no respect when they had a lot more respect than the women of today. I mean, where is the nudes of Trish Stratus in her prime? Where's all the nudes of Lita? Where are they? They don't exist. Tori Wilson, how many times did she have sex tapes? like none, but you guarantee a lot of the women today have them. So I fucking hell, I wish Trish Stratus had them, but she doesn't. You know what I mean? It is what it is. It's so fucking annoying just because they were in an era. By the way, an era that was over, and you can argue that today's women they can do 20-minute matches. The women in the 2000s didn't need to do 20-minute matches, right? They could do a 5, 6, 7-minute match, and it was better than the boring shit we get today. So SoCal Val, I'll probably never agree with her on anything else again, but she's right here. The Divas era was good. The Divas should be remembered as a great part of the product and not just like shunned aside and put in a box that's labelled like embarrassing or anything like that, because today's wrestling division, especially the women's, that's what the real embarrassment is. So let me know, guys, down below in the comments. Do you agree? Do you think SoCal Val's onto something here? Do you prefer the women of the past, or do you for some reason prefer today's women where it's boring as fuck and they try to wrestle like the men even though they're nowhere near as good as it? Let me know what you think down below in the comments. Leave a like, leave a subscription, and I'll catch you in the next video. But until then, peace.